Welcome to Vulnerability, Introspection and Growth, the podcast where we explore the beautiful, messy and transformative magic that happens when we dare to go within. I'm your host, Robin Harris, and in each episode we'll dive into real, honest stories from people who've faced their fears, embraced their vulnerabilities, and discovered unexpected growth in their personal lives, careers, or businesses. This is a space for deep listening, open hearts, and soul-nourishing conversations. Because when we meet ourselves in our rawest moments, that's often where our greatest wisdom starts. Let's begin. Hello and welcome to this episode of Vulnerability, Introspection and Growth. And I know it's going to be a good one because Brigitte and I have been having a conversation before I hit record, and I had to draw a halt because we were just getting so tuned into our conversation. Brigitte is amazing, so you're going to love this episode. And just to introduce Dr. Brigitte Bojkowszky, who is a global brand identity strategist, business educator, retreat host, more about that later, and the visionary behind BridgetBrands, with a background that spans from the skies as a flight attendant to the boardroom, the university lecture hall for over 2 decades, and the entrepreneurial world. Brigitte helps individuals and organizations uncover their brilliance, build an aligned, authentic brand that radiates impact. She is the creator of the transformative personal branding retreat, I Am Becoming. I love that title. Designed for high-achieving women in transition, ready to reclaim their identity and rise into visibility. Brigitte is also the host of the Brands Talk podcast, a sought-after speaker and a best-selling author, known for fusing strategy with soul in everything she does. So welcome, Brigitte. It's just wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Robin. It's a delight to be here today.
And I always start each episode of the podcast with asking my guest 3 questions just to help people to tune in and pick up on why it's good for them to carry on listening. And the first of those is, what makes your story relatable for others?
I think because I've lived many lives and worn many labels, while for a long time I felt unseen in all of them, in all of these chapters of my life. And it's that quiet ache of knowing there is more inside you. And I was searching and I didn't know how to let it be seen. So it was a journey of discovery so far, a very interesting and roller coaster ride kind of journey.
And I love that word ache in regards to this, that ache of being invisible, longing to be seen for who we are as an individual. And I think, having experienced that myself, I didn't like being visible. I didn't feel comfortable being visible, and yet I longed to be seen. So I think that's going to really touch a lot of people's going to resonate. And who do you feel will gain the most from listening to this conversation?
Anyone who, quote unquote, has achieved on paper, yet feels disconnected from themselves. So there is an outer appearance, but inside you still feel like, who am I? And why I'm not seen? And what is it that I want others to see? Yeah, so it's for leaders, entrepreneurs, but individuals who are in transition, who sense it's time to stop performing and start becoming. And I think becoming is this big buzzword, especially for me, because that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm helping other people It's to become, yeah, the I am becoming. So there is so much meaning in that. I think we're gonna come back to that later on.
And I think that's such a thing of our time when we're surrounded by AI and artificiality and maybe superficiality, to know that that whole sense of imposter syndrome, which is kind of what you were talking about there, that we can come out beyond that. We can be seen for who we really are. We can, although it's a vulnerable place to be, which is what we'll be talking about today as well, it's also a very powerful place when we can own it and just be ourselves. And I love that I am. Anything that we put after I am, it's the most creative sentence and it manifests whatever we say after the I am. So I am becoming. How beautiful is that? And lastly, what do you hope people will take away from our conversation?
That visibility is not about self-promotion, but about self-permission, to give ourselves permission, and that who they already are is more than enough to begin with. And most of us don't know what kind of diamond is already within us and has already been. We just don't see it. That's why visibility starts inside, not outside.
I, that is just so perfect, saying that it's what's already within and it's the permission to show that. It's not that we have to become anything that we're not. And it's not that we have to learn something new or be something new. It's the diamond, like you say, that's already there. You were born with it. And it's the permission to allow that to shine. I'm currently listening to the audiobook of Soul Without Shame by Byron Brown.
Oh,
And I'm just at the point where he's talking about our sense of value. And he's basically saying that when we see value in something external, so gosh, that person, what they're doing is so incredible. It's because we have that inside of us. It's what we're seeing is just a reflection, really. We wouldn't acknowledge, we wouldn't perceive the value of what they're doing if it wasn't resonating with something that's already inside of us. So it is that reflection back. This is what you hold within you. So, like you
yeah,
say, that permission to
because
let it shine.
yeah, because they're connected. They are
Mhm.
totally aligned, and that's what we feel when we see them and we hear them, and that makes something with us. And we are questioning ourselves, how does that work? And it's easier than we think it is, because we always looking for a solution outside, this outside validation, right? And comparing ourselves with others. But it's about us, it's within us, it's about introspection and seeing how far we have already come. Yeah.
I love that. That's fantastic. And in your bio, we talked a little bit about your journey. It's been an amazing journey, and you have, as you say, worn a lot of different labels, and it's been rather unconventional. It has encompassed a wide range of roles. So, would you share a little bit about what led you on that particular journey? That you started out in the skies, you've worked in a boardroom, you've worked in a lecture theatre, you now focus on visibility and permission to be your own brand and to do things the way that's right for you as an individual. What took you along that particular path?
Uh, in retrospection, I see a thread connecting all the different chapters, and it's the search for the permission to be fully myself. I never was really. I attempted to, but it was not there. I was always searching. I was like, this is not really me. I was always outgrowing a certain version of myself and looking for something different. But I also had this inner conflict. It's like, be grateful for what you have. What do you want? And you are more than enough, and then you're not good enough. So I never knew who I really am. Am I now too much or not good enough, or I'm just wrong? And so this was always kind of lingering. I was kind of searching for who I truly am, and what makes me different that only I can bring to the table. And I could bring it to the table in all my different roles that I played in all the different chapters, but not really. There was always something missing. And so, yeah, and I also thought, since it's not a straight line, a very unconventional journey from a flight attendant to a student to a corporate, back to being a student, and again corporate, and then a teaching professor, and last but not least, entrepreneur. It's kind of, it's not a traditional journey. And I always thought I was flawed. And because of all these pivots in between, a traditional workplace environment, people in HR would question me, right? It's like, what is this woman like? She's for 5 years, she's here, then she's doing this, then she's doing that. So I felt like, well, what's wrong with me? But I continued my journey just to, I was nudged by external forces like the financial recession, losing my job in the real estate sector. But it showed me that you need to be aware of who you truly are, your personal, your identity, what you are, and something that makes you you. It's not dependent on external forces, because at that time I was heading the market research department for a real estate development company. We went bankrupt in the financial recession, and I was like totally living the identity of the company. Yeah, I identified myself. So when the company was gone, I didn't know who I was. So I understood that it's very, very important to create your own identity as a person, what you stand for, regardless of anything or anyone else. That's what I learned. So when I was nudged by external forces, I then later on understood what was the reason. Yeah, what's the hidden advantage, the gift in it that let me leap forward and elevate to my next, if you want to call it like that, next better version. Yeah, when you learn out of it, it's, I always say the universe or the life gives you feedback. And you can take the feedback in a negative way and playing the victim, or in a positive way and see, okay, what's the gift in it? So I see it as a redirection to something else, because it always leads you to something. Yeah. And yeah, so I was searching for my true self. And it's not about becoming more. It's actually the other way around. You strip off. It's like when you are entering, I was teaching global marketing management and entering a less developed markets. It's like stripping off features of a product that you use in the Western world, in a less developed market. You strip off features to the core. And the same thing happens with people. It's really about excavating, yeah, all the conditioning throughout your life that is not really you, but you were taught and you took on in order to fit in, to belong. That needs to go. That needs, you strip away, you excavate, and suddenly, yeah, there is just you, the core essence, and that's where you need to get.
And that's so difficult. We are so used to, certainly, I think, in maybe the more Western world, this
yeah,
idea, and I'm been working with somebody recently, try. I need to try. I'm obviously not trying hard enough. Whereas I'm trying to say, or I am saying, not trying to say, but I'm saying that it's the trying itself which is the challenge. To not try, like you were saying earlier, to give permission, to allow, to strip away the conditioning that you have to try. When we are being ourselves, we're just being. There is no try.
Yeah, it's really the understanding and the search for this truth. You can say that. I think it's the truth for who you really are beneath all the roles, beneath all the titles, beneath all the expectations of others. Because once you lose a title or let's say a job title, then who are you? Yeah, to begin with. So I think I went through all these different detours in order to arrive where I am. So and every chapter, and that's the beautiful thing, every chapter became a layer of my identity now. For example, from the time as a flight attendant, I learned presence, emotional intelligence, feeling into people, understanding different cultures, different mentalities, understanding people who are in moments of stress and transition. There's a lot of people who are just afraid of flying. So, and you need to have this empathy and the compassion and helping them through these 13 hours or whatever the flight is. Yeah. So, and I also learned how to create exceptional experiences for people. That's what I mastered there. Yeah, serving in excellence. So this is one. Yeah, and I still truly love that. And in corporate, for example, I learned power dynamics and what happens when performance is valued more than authenticity. So I am not a typical corporate. Yeah, because I mean, when you are in there, you have to kind of balance that out, yeah, and stretching the boundaries because within stretching the status quo and a corporate culture, there lies the innovation, yeah, of how a company moves forward. So bringing in a fresh energy, fresh dynamic, and that's with who we are as a person when we are authentic. Yeah, so
And
that's
I think as well, just to, if I can just come in there to say that you've done a series of different roles. Each gives you something different, but there's that golden thread that is you underneath all of those different roles. And in the digging down into each role, what is it about being an air hostess? What is it about working in corporate that you can then see right at the bottom of that, the core of that is presence, emotional intelligence, understanding these other people and wanting to understand them so that I can give them that special experience, even when they're in transition and they're maybe in fear. I want to turn that right around so that they get off this flight thinking, actually, that was amazing. I might fly again.
yeah,
and,
that's what
and
you want. Yeah, but in everything basically, not only
exactly, yeah.
yeah, and that is something, and that's what I want to help people also. Yeah, when we serve, this is my sole mission to empower authentic visibility because when you are authentic and vulnerable, that goes along with authenticity, then you connect with other people's souls. Yeah, and that's the way of making others feel about you and what you have to bring to the table.
And I love that it's a thread that's coming out through the whole of this podcast, all the different guests. When we can embrace our vulnerability, that is what actually connects us because it takes us to that human level that gets us below the surface stuff. Because we might not look the same, we might not do the same job, we might come from very different backgrounds, but we're human underneath it all. We all experience emotions, and presumably we experience them in fairly similar ways. So when we can strip back all of the other stuff that's just prettying, hopefully, the surface, but get down under that, then we just see you're another human being, just like me. You feel just like me. How can, like in your air hostess role, how can I make you have the best experience on this flight that you can possibly have. But I need to tap into where you're feeling right now in order to know, well, what do I change to make your experience better? And then we connect. And I, as the passenger, look at you and think, oh gosh, you understand me. I can relate to you because you have connected with me. And you take that then to the boardroom, to the branding, to every situation, whether it's a work one, a personal life one.
Yeah, and I think for me, vulnerability was definitely my greatest teacher. And for a long time, my greatest fear also. Because what happens when you show your vulnerability, your scars, or you're still in your wounds, your doubts, your detours? Yeah, but you need to get over that. And it's what you said before. It's you gotta own it. And once you own it, you tell that story. Yeah, how you have done it, how you bridge that, and what happened when you came out the other side. And when I, and that's so true what you said, when I began sharing more than just my expertise, but also my lived experiences, people love these stories because they see themselves in you. And in that way, we can also be a role model because they say, when she can do it, I can do it too. So you give them, in a sense, also, you're helping them to their own permission to do the same. And I think that's contagious in a positive sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like you're saying, stripping back, I don't think it's something we can jump into from 0 to 100 miles an hour. It's dip your toe in the water. And when we're like, you see a lot of wild bathing these days and people going into the sea and it looks freezing cold. And some people, particularly when they're used to it, I guess, they just walk in. But for me, I'd be, oh, it's cold, it's cold. So I think it's that I need to test this because if I don't feel safe, there's no point in me jumping in. People who wild swim will know if you do that, then you will, if the water is really cold, you won't be able to breathe. You'll go into a shock that you just, oh, I can't breathe. So I think it's, and this is also part of my work and what is so important in what I do, is creating that space of safety where I can take that step. And then I might retreat for a little bit and process, and I survived. I can take another step. But it is, I think, looking at people like you and going, oh, Brigitte did it. Brigitte survived. Brigitte is thriving. And from listening to your conversation, to your story, seeing that's how maybe I could do it. Maybe not quite the same way, but I can take little bits of how you do it. And I look at people like Gabor Mate and Brene Brown, think, oh, I like that. I like that. I can trial that in my way. What would that look like for me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, coming back to what you just said, it's vulnerability in that sense brought me healing and still does. I think it's a never-ending journey. It allows you to connect with your inner wisdom. It's with this soft voice that we try to override, but once you are in this journey, then you listen. Yeah, you listen to your instinct, you listen to what's going on inside. And we are always like out the focus, louder, louder, louder. But that doesn't bring clarity. Clarity only comes from the inside. And it really taught me to create from this calm. Everything is okay. Everything is happening for me. You have no idea how many times I told that myself. Yeah? Then compensating with something else. Yeah. So it's more from creating from love with vulnerability than from proving myself out there. I think that. So yeah, it's the healing part. And when we show how we heal, because others it's systemic. Others feel that it's a different energy. So vulnerability in that sense also creates resonance. And it says you are not alone. Yeah, it's here we draw people into, we attract people. Yeah, I've walked here too, so you can too. Yeah. So I think that is a beautiful thing. And when it comes back to branding, from a branding perspective, vulnerability is the backbone of a powerful brand. Whether it's a company, but also a person, everyone is a personal brand because whatever you do, resonates. Yeah. So your inner world is addressed through how you think, feel, and then act, yeah, in the world. Yeah. So it's your brand is really what people feel. And then you're brave enough to be real. And that's your true brand, I would say. Yeah.
And I loved, just to circle back a little bit there, what you were saying about the voice, the inner voice is quiet. And it can take us time when we're not used to listening to that, when we're maybe not even used to getting still and being quiet because our world is so noisy. And it kind of almost rewards that noisiness. It certainly feeds it. Here's another notification on your mobile phone. Here's another ping, another email, another message, another calendar. My phone's just demonstrating
It's
that right now.
reinforcing. Yeah, it's reinforcing. Absolutely.
Exactly. And it feeds that adrenaline cortisol rush, which then impacts on our cells and how they develop the little receptors. That means we need more. And once we've had that level of cortisol, it takes a while to come down. It's much easier to spike it up again and to put us again into that hypervigilant need to have that, need to feed that monster. But when we can start to get still and to get quiet, we can start to recognize that voice. And I think it's also when we feel that feed me, adrenaline, feed me cortisol, that it's almost like a sugar fix. I need that little hit of energy. That's almost a way to recognize, is this really authenticity, or is this feeding the monster, feeding the conditioning? Versus, like you said, you just have that sense of yes. It's a quiet yes, but it's yes. Like that, I can breathe. I've come home. I feel centered in my being. I feel grounded. This is what's true for me, aligned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it all starts with mindset. That's why I proclaim that branding, who you are, the way of how you present yourself to the world starts with mindset, with the inner work. Yeah. And also the presence that it just starts from within. And
Which is maybe at the perfect time at which to share your retreats, the I Am Becoming. So tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, so I Am Becoming is a retreat. It's happening here in Austria, and now the second time. I ran it last year already in September. It's coming up again in June. It's a 5-day personal branding retreat where accomplished women pause the noise. They pause, they hit the pause button and step into stillness and discover not just what's next, because we always like, oh, what's next, what's next, what's next, yeah, but who they truly are becoming. Yeah, it's a combination of personal branding strategy where we refine and design the next chapter, but it's also inner leadership practices to align this outer achievement with inner authenticity. So, coming from a place of calm and authenticity, and also soulful introspection, reconnecting with who you truly are. So, who am I right now? This check in, I think everyone should do this yearly check in because we are always changing and evolving, and the brand is evolving with us. So, that it's not something I become this brand and that's it. People think like that. Yeah, it really starts with becoming something now what we want to be in the future. It's about thinking yourself into your best version and trying to already live it right now. And that's what we're doing in this I Am Becoming retreat. And I called it I Am Becoming because we're always becoming. We're always on the way. It's something that never ends until we drop dead, and still then most probably we are becoming something else. Yeah. So it's 5 days. And we also do outdoors, like forest bathing and adventure rides, and yeah, you also have time for some me time, and then I also take the time to do some one-on-one sessions. So it's really something where people also then come together in a sisterhood, and it's only for 8 people. So it's something where we go really, really deep. It's nothing like 20 or 30 people. I prefer quality over quantity, and not doing a lot, but what we do is really deep introspection. Yeah, and there's also yoga in the morning, and breath work, and healthy food. Yeah, and it's in the fantastic countryside of Austria, so it's worthwhile. You're gonna put the link in the show notes anyway,
I
so
will
you
indeed
can check it
put
out.
the link in the show notes, and it just sounds idyllic. And I so agree with what you're saying, that we are evolving. We are becoming. I don't think there's a one and done. Why would you want to limit yourself in that way? And if we're not evolving, everything else is evolving around us. So we're actually not just standing still, we're kind of going backwards because everything else is moving ahead. But
Mhm.
it's time now, sadly, for us to draw this conversation to a close. I know the time goes so quickly. So I will put your links in the show notes, but would you just share with the audience where is the best place to connect with you, or places?
Yeah, I have a website. It's called BridgetBrands.com. And I'm also extremely busy and a content creator on LinkedIn. So connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also find me on YouTube with my podcast, Brands Talk, where we talk also about personal brands, company brands, everything, yeah, about branding and brands. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, but most of the time I'm on LinkedIn. So connect with
Fabulous.
me there.
Thank you so much. And it's been wonderful chatting with you, Brigitte. As
Thank you so
we've
much.
just As we've just said, all of Brigitte's links will be in the show notes below this video, so do check them out. Do connect with Brigitte and check out that amazing retreat in Austria. That is just going to be so fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me, Brigitte.
Thank you so much, Robin. It was a pleasure being here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe, and maybe even to share with your network. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Vulnerability, Introspection and Growth. I hope it's given you a moment to breathe, reflect, and perhaps even see your own story with a little more compassion. If you find this conversation meaningful, I'd love it if you'd share, subscribe, or leave a review. It helps others find their way here too. Until next time, take gentle care, and remember, the journey inwards is where the real growth begins.